This program is powered by AIM Employers Association and Ogletree Deacons, a Feature Group USA production.
Hello, everybody. I'm Phil Brandt, President and CEO of AIM Employers Association. Research shows that roughly 30% of employees don't feel safe speaking up at work, which means many people stay silent or go along with the decisions they privately question because they're afraid to push back. So, how many bad decisions do you think your team is making simply because everyone's playing nice? All this and more on This Week at Work.
Welcome to This Week at Work, the only show to pack workplace news, practical HR solutions, and timely insights into every 30-minute episode. From the latest rulings in the courtroom to the strategies unfolding in the boardroom, and from real conversations taking place on the front lines to spotlighting what similar companies are doing about the challenges they face. This Week at Work brings you the conversations that matter most to HR professionals and business leaders like you. Brought to you by AIM Employers Association and Ogletree Deacons, live every Thursday morning. This is your opportunity to connect with their experts and ask your burning questions. So what's keeping you up at night? Let's face it together now on This Week at Work.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Happy New Year. First program of the new year. Bert, Happy New Year to you. And Kris Gfell, welcome back to the program. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well, Phil. Doing well. You know, this marks the sixth year of us doing our program that started out way back in COVID.
Yeah, no, it is. And I still have two family members listening, and we're going to work on getting our third listener this year if we can.
Be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be amazing. But we do have a lot of listeners, and we're happy to have them. They come in droves depending on the episode, and they're always at their highest level when we have Kris Gfell on the program with us. Kris, Happy New Year to you, and how are things going for you out in Indianapolis?
Happy New Year, Phil and Bert. And no, things are great. Happy to be here to start the new year off with you guys. And no, things are well. And, looking forward to getting moving and 2026 off to a great start.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many programs you've been on with us over the last 6 years, Kris, but it's been quite a few. And Bert, I think we're just a couple of months really away from our 6-year anniversary. I hope you don't get the 7-year itch here.
That'll
talk
actually,
about that.
I think that'll mean our 7th year once we hit March.
Once we hit 6, yes, that will be year 7 in that.
Starting our 7th, yes.
That's the troubled year for married couples is that 7-year itch, I hear. So we got to make sure that there's a little bit of toxic flattery thrown each way to keep each other happy in this scenario. That's what we're going to talk about today. It's another way of talking about difficult conversations. We all have experiences with toxic flattery, and it's absolutely horrible when it occurs. And I think there's times when flattery itself can create alignment. And that's where I think it gets really difficult is how do you align and still allow everyone to voice thoughts and opinions so that you make your best decisions. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today with Kris. But first, Bert, I'm sure you have a segment of Lawyer on the Clock you want to get to. It's been a couple weeks and there's probably more to cover than we can.
There is way more to cover than we can, but yes, I'm ready for that, Phil.
All right, producer Nick doing what he does best. Pull that lever for us, buddy.
Curious about a case that could wreck your workplace? Lucky for you, we have a lawyer on the clock.
So, Phil, the first one I want to talk about is a couple of events that took place right at the end of the year last year, very important in the area of labor and employment law. The first is that the National Labor Relations Board quorum was restored. On December 18th, right before the holidays, the U.S. Senate voted to confirm President Trump's nominations of labor attorneys Scott Mayer and James Murphy to serve on the NLRB and Crystal Carey to serve as the NLRB's general counsel. The confirmation of the two board members restores a quorum at the NLRB, which now means that the NLRB can function and start to provide some certainty for labor relations after the 5-member board was left with only one member for 4 months. And so I do think we're going to start seeing a lot more activity out of the National Labor Relations Board moving forward. So I just want to make sure everyone is aware of that. The other one that I want to make sure everyone's aware of, also on that same day, President Trump signed an executive order directing the Attorney General to expedite the rescheduling of marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 drug under federal law. As a Schedule 3 drug, marijuana industry companies would face far fewer barriers, which could impact state and federal efforts to legalize the drug, mainly for medicinal purposes, but also for recreational purposes. So it
All right,
doesn't
so Bert,
mean,
yep, we got to stop right there. People are going to start asking, oh,
right?
so does this mean it's legal and people will be, we can't drug test and we can't maintain our policies the way and practices the way we want to? Give us just a little insight what that might mean should this get rescheduled.
Yeah, it means that anybody who's attended any of our Weed at Work programs, Phil, the advice we've rendered during those programs remains exactly the same. Nobody has the right to be under the influence of marijuana while at work.
Right.
And so while the drug may be getting reclassified eventually from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 drug, you'll have to wait and see what that means from a legalization for medicinal purposes or recreational purposes in the individual states or under federal law. But the one thing that will be consistent is people do not have the right to be under the influence at work. And that is something we can take to the bank
and whether that's marijuana or
for the
any other
foreseeable
drug.
future.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right. I just didn't want people going away and going, hey, okay, we can all, stop worrying about drug testing and we got people driving trucks and forklifts and doing hazardous jobs and so forth.
Yep.
Maintain status quo and where you're at. Yep.
That's exactly right. And that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I think a lot of the headlines that hit were like, oh my God, marijuana is going to be lawful under federal law. Now we can go crazy. And that's not the case.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or you
All
can
right.
go crazy, but there's going to be consequences to it.
Well, if you're going to go crazy, I think you can probably get some medicinal excuse for that use of marijuana.
Maybe.
Yeah. All right.
Another one I wanted to bring to people's attention is that that we've talked a lot last year about this American First Legal group that had been suing companies, had been sending letters to companies that were maintaining DE&I practices. I just want to make everyone aware that our own Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri, has been targeted by this group, American First Legal, and they're basically saying that the university has chosen to ignore the law about DE&I under the Trump administration, and basically they're calling for a probe into the school, alleging that it's continuing illegal race and sex-based discrimination through its DE&I programs that they have basically renamed and tried to hide under different names. And so I just want to make sure that our viewers are aware of that and the potential consequences of organizations coming after them if they are maintaining DE&I efforts that could, if done improperly, be illegal under the law. So
you can't just reskin your program, name it something different. It really, and we've talked about this so many times, it really does take a review, in our case, we would suggest your legal advisor. In this case, give Bert and Ogletree a call. Just to make sure that you're not doing something unintentionally illegal as it relates to the executive order and the direction that we're moving in today's climate.
That's exactly right, Phil.
Yeah.
And and then shifting gears, I just want to talk real quickly about a very important topic, things that have changed in state law across the country. I'm obviously not going to be covering all of the jurisdictions that are out there, but it is interesting as I scan through the list that my firm prepares of the state law changes that are taking place. It's mainly in the blue states. that you have to worry about changes that are taking place. Florida, I know we've got a lot of viewers in Florida, and we've got a lot of viewers in Indiana, two red states. You all win the prize here because there are no significant changes in labor and employment law taking place in Florida or Indiana this year. Missouri has one significant change that's going to take place, and that is the Missouri minimum wage law. We talked quite a bit about this as it related to the Missouri paid sick leave law that got repealed. Attached to that same bill, of course, was an increase in the minimum wage. So Missouri's minimum wage increases from $13.75 an hour to $15. That was on January 1 of this year.
Oh,
And
I
then
might get a
again,
raise today. How about
yeah,
that? Yeah.
there you go, Phil. And as a result, that was as a result of that voter approved Proposition A. That
Yeah.
piece was not repealed. So I want to make sure that all employers are aware in Missouri that the minimum wage is increasing. Illinois, on the other hand, so while Florida and Indiana won the prize for the fewest changes, Illinois wins the prize for some of the most significant changes in the country. So effective January 1, 2026, the Illinois Crime Victim Leave Act was amended to add employee protections related to the use of employer-provided electronic devices to record violence against an employee or an employee's household or family member. So
Okay,
make
say
sure.
that again. All right,
Yeah.
let's hear that one more time.
So Illinois has a statute commonly known as VESA, which is the Victims Economic Security and Safety Act, and that has been amended to add employee protections related to use of employer-provided electronic devices to record violence against an employee or an employee's household or family member.
Okay,
So an
you
employer,
have to break that. I don't understand. I'm sorry. And it probably
think of
me
your
being,
employer-provided cell phone.
okay, so my employer provided cell phone, I can use or cannot use,
You can.
okay, to record violence.
Correct. Against an employee or an employee's household or family member. So the employee on their private
Against the
time,
employer or by anyone.
the employee can use that device without violating any of the employer's policies.
Okay, so I can use, if I was out on the street and I saw violence, I could use that device to record the violence for the purposes of reporting it or something like that.
Yep.
It's not necessarily that employers are being violent towards employees, and I can use it back again. I mean, I could in that
You
scenario,
could.
I'm guessing. Yeah, but
Yes.
it's more about being a watchdog device in the community, should you happen to witness something.
Well, and it's violence against the employee or an employee's household or family member, so not
Okay.
just the public at large.
All right. So if, we were violent against Kris, and Kris didn't record us, we couldn't record Kris being attacked because it wasn't Kris's device and he was the employee. It would be upon himself to record that.
Phil,
If
I'm
that made
so
any
confused by
sense.
what you just said. I think Kris
Okay,
is
it's
just
all
going to
right.
throw
It's
his
all right.
cell
Hey, you know
phone at
what,
you.
Bert? Yes. Just yes, man. All right. That's where we're at today. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Just a couple others in Illinois, or actually a few others in Illinois, and I'm not going to talk in detail about these because of time, but just be aware that Illinois garnishments, among other things, the new revision to the law entitles a debtor employee to a $1,000 automatic exemption. Illinois also modified its off-duty conduct law that protects employees from retaliation or punishment for using employer-issued equipment to record violence against themselves or family members. So that's very similar to what they did with the VESA law that I just talked about. Illinois medical donation, the Illinois Employee Blood and Organ Donation Leave Act was amended to extend eligibility for paid organ donation leave to part-time employees. The Illinois Pregnancy, Childbirth, and Lactation Law was amended. Now employers must compensate employees for lactation breaks at their regular rate of pay and may not require employees to use paid leave during those breaks. Also, Illinois amended its discrimination laws based on zip codes, people using zip codes as a proxy for race discrimination. So be aware of those. And then just two more that are not in effect yet, but will go into effect on June 1 of this year. Illinois Family and Medical Leave, their new Family Neonatal Intensive Care Leave Act requires covered employers to provide employees with unpaid job protected leave while their child is a patient in a neonatal intensive care unit. And also with that same one, actually that's the only one that's being changed under the Illinois Family and Medical Leave law, that this new Family Neonatal Intensive Care Leave Act. So
Is that got a
just be aware.
limit to it? Do you know?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Does that exceed the normal 12-week limit? Is that like a limitless leave in a certain way, or
No, there's still limits to it, and it's largely
okay.
going to be consistent with the FMLA. I think that this would be something that would be protected under the FMLA anyway, but just be aware that it is also there's state law protection for it as well. And this is on June 1 of 2026.
Right. Okay. Yep.
All right.
All right. Very good. Yeah.
That's what I got. I covered your 4 states, Phil.
And our first episode of the new year, you already stirred up Mr. Dave out there. He's already asking if he can use his cell phone to record ICE violence and different things like that. So Dave, we're trying to run a respectful program. We're going to ask you to play along with us and be a yes man, Dave. All right, let's not try and stir it up. But yeah, no, Dave, you're not allowed to do it for that reason, because unless you are the person being violated.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Bert?
No, I think that's a lot to get people started for the new year. I can't wait to talk about this toxic flattery that we've been trying to get to. Phil, you look really great today. I just got to tell you.
You know, Bert, I appreciate that, and it's been a long time since you've given me a compliment, and that can go a long way. And you're looking quite well yourself, and the flattery will get you everywhere.
Thank you.
But before you do that, and before we move on to that topic, Nick, do we have a message from Amy Hart today?
All right, it's time to check in with the eyes and ears of AIM and everyone's favorite AI-driven HR advisor. Amy, take it away.
Thanks, producer Nick. Here's what's happening at AIM this week and why it matters, according to Amy. This week at AIM, we're kicking off the new year by opening participation for AIM's 2026 Compensation and Benefits Survey. That's a chance for AIM members to benchmark pay and benefits before spring budgeting begins. The Department of Labor's new overtime rule, set to take effect in March, is back in the headlines as employers prepare for higher salary thresholds and tighter exemption tests. That's going to impact budgets, job classifications, and yes, employee morale if it's not handled well. So, if you're looking at salary adjustments or reclassifications, this is the moment to get your data right and your supervisors trained on how to talk about those changes. You can learn more or register through the AIM team and make sure your 2026 starts with confidence, not confusion. All right, so that's what's new, what's next, and what matters. All according to Amy.
All right, thank you for that, Amy. Bert, Kris, I got to ask, do either of you know what AITA stands for?
Up until we started doing our in-depth rehearsal for this program, Phil, about
which
4
is
hours ago. We
Yeah.
woke up at like 2 a.m. this morning and started practicing for this show. I had not heard that.
All right. How about you, Kris?
I have. I feel like I've been in the lingo for a while. So, yep,
Yeah.
I am familiar with AITA.
So I am as well. And I would have to say probably because of my daughter. She participates in these forums on Reddit primarily, but AITA stands for Am I the A-hole? Right? And
So what does that mean?
So, Bert, I'm going to let you use your imagination
All
of
right.
what that means. Am I the
Okay.
a-hole? And apparently on Reddit and other forums, and sometimes I think this may have started even before Reddit, where radio shows would even host these types of discussions where they throw out a scenario, and then people can comment on why they believe you are or are not the a-hole in this scenario. And so I know my daughter will go on to Reddit and she'll put a scenario out there, maybe something that happened, and how do you see it? And what's your opinion? And should I have handled it differently? Do you think I handled it right? Which for me is just like insane to have random people just telling you, yes, you're right, no, you're wrong, or here's another point of view. I just don't understand it, but she definitely participates in it. And that forum, AI, an AITA, is really quite interesting, and sometimes it gets supported. And there was a recent study by ARXIV.org, which I think it's supported through Cornell University, that said AI approves about 42% of the situations that people on the forum agree to be inappropriate. And we've all heard about AI, being maybe too kind, right? Maybe too much toxic flattery. Well, that's a good question. Or, that I can see that you're thinking the right way. And AI gives you these flattery responses to help you feel maybe a little bit better about using the technology and supporting. And there was even that horrible scenario where I guess it was Chat GPT that, encouraged someone who was thinking suicidal thoughts to maybe take those thoughts into action. I don't know all the facts to that, but I've heard, rumors of this. So that does exist in the workplace for us as well. Maybe we've all seen forms of toxic flattery in the workplace. But Kris, maybe you can just break down when we're talking about toxic flattery, what is it that we're really meaning when we say that in the workplace?
Well, where I've seen it come through, and personal views, and when I'm talking with a lot of people, it's that culture where you get recognition and advancement on subjective impressions, right? So that's just to be very clear, we're just going to be agreeable, and we're going to miss on things rather than focus on results, or we're avoiding conflict. So it's that yes culture that comes through, or just people pleasing.
Yeah.
There's some things that come through. So depending on you get very personal views of this. It's that some people can call it that butt kissing mentality, and so it's there, and it thrives in organizations. It's not something that goes away very quickly, because honestly, you can have leaders that forge this, and they may not even realize they do it, but yet it happens. And it's there in a lot of organizations.
Yeah, it does exist. I mean, I've experienced it more times than I can count. I've been a part of it. I've been accused of it. I probably myself, was glad that I was receiving, agreeable responses at times. And I think it's very difficult in the workplace, particularly when you're trying to create alignment, to work through all the discussion points that you need to create alignment. And I mean, that takes time, collaboration, strength of character, all of these things, not something that everyone has. Not everyone has the time, the collaboration skills, has the strength of character to receive feedback or give feedback that's going to, help an organization move forward. But often what I see, and I'm just curious what you see is, you see people sit silent versus agree or disagree. And that silence often is a signal, if you've been trained and developed the right way, to recognize, hey, I need to call you out. Like for an example, right now, Bert's sitting pretty silent. So if we call Bert out, and I'm sure in a law firm, maybe not in Ogletree Deacons, but in a law firm with lawyers who have been trained to professionally debate, toxic flattery does not exist. Bert, have you experienced this toxic flattery or difficult conversations in a law firm?
Of course, toxic flattery exists in law firms just as in any other business. You've got people who are at times afraid to speak out because they're worried about pissing off the people who are above them, the decision makers about their future career, etc. And so rather than
Nope. Maybe we just lost him. Are you still with me there, Nick?
or the flatter.
That's
I am
it.
with
I mean,
you. I think that's
you know
just
what?
Bert's in
I'm
in
just
his Arizona office, I believe.
Yeah, I'm done with Bert. I'm just done with him. All right. Anyway, we'll give him one more chance. I'm sure he'll be back on. I'm not sure what happened there. Kris, so when we think about toxic flattery, that word's not something everyone's familiar with, and it's a good ear-catching phrase. But what really is the difference when we think about like toxic flattery versus psychological safety, which is a more popular word, but still doesn't always exist in every workplace? What are some of the differences between those two statements, toxic flattery and psychological safety?
Yeah, you get, it's the healthy side versus maybe viewed as not healthy or even that avoidance and bringing conflict into places. But there's a lot of the conflict avoidance and those that maybe aren't situated or feel good about conflict. That's where they're going to, in some cases, bring the unhealthy side of things, maybe to gain favor or approval. It's the intent that comes through is a big differentiator there. And that's what we see and just working with leaders and talking with those in, within HR and just in business in general. It's trying to weed through that and get to the point of let's make sure everybody has a voice. I think that's a key piece. But we talk about feeling safe in our environments and feeling safe with its conversations at work. It's feeling safe at home and in our home environment. So that safety, I think, is a key piece that comes through as, being on the healthy side of conversations and situations.
Yeah, I think about the experiences I've had, and like everyone, I mean, I've worked with some bosses and leaders who are very much in the tell mode, not the receive mode. And often I think it gets confused. I was trying to get to this a little bit sooner. Like creating alignment in an organization is really hard to do if the organization isn't really trained and aware of how to do so. And here's what I mean by that. If I was to just say, hey, look, here's our new strategic plan, we're going to go in a different direction, surely people are going to have opinions about that. People who lead other people, most importantly, first, to better understand the plan, understand the why, be able to ask the right questions so they can answer the right questions. And sometimes when you're asking those questions, they get misinterpreted as you're not aligned, you're not on my side, you're not with me. And really you're trying to understand, better understand the new strategy in that case. So it takes first, a leader who has the ability to be patient and communicate and understand that not everybody learns at the same pace. And then the other part of that is really creating an environment that allows people to respectfully disagree or share their concerns, but it doesn't mean that they won't align. It just means, hey, I want to share what my concerns are about this. And this is where I think it goes astray, is I share my concerns and I still need you, if you share your concerns with me, and I still need you, Kris, to say, okay, I've heard your concerns. I've made an executive decision. We're still going to go in that direction. Can you support me? And that's where I often feel like it can go wrong, is in that space of, can you support me in this? And where I see that go wrong in a few different scenarios is you will say, yes, I can support you in this. We get 6 months down the road and the proverbial is hitting the fan, right? Everything's hitting the fan here. And you go, well, I told you. I told you this wasn't the right way, and we were supposed to be aligned because you said you can support me. And those are kind of the rules of engagement that you have to go through as an organization of how we're going to play, where we agree to disagree or we agree to air our concerns, make our best decisions with what we have available in front of us, and then move forward. And it's a very difficult skill, often due to, what's at stake. And often what's at stake in workplaces is our job, right? It's like if I disagree too much with my board of directors, I'm probably a little bit at risk of being philosophically unaligned. So how we agree, how we decide to move forward, those types of things become critically important in that. And surely you've experienced some of those things in your working career, maybe still do. But that's where I find going through the right programs and developments as an executive team or leadership team to create, a safe place to learn how to do that and then go practice it can really help a organization make better decisions with more information, but it often takes longer to do.
Yeah, Phil, I definitely agree with that. And the leader skill set comes into play because it's that personal side that comes through, but you have to practice what you preach. And you can say all day long, like, this is a safe place, right? I want to hear everything. I want your feedback. But if a leader turns around and does something negative with it, and or they just completely ignore it and then ignore the conflict that is likely happening maybe behind the scenes, then they're creating and they're fostering that toxic environment, and rather than leading through it. So it definitely takes work. It's not something that happens overnight or is just a one-stop conversation. It's gearing the organization for that culture of openness, and it's two ways, right? It's two-way conversation. Just trying to foster that area of safe to ask questions and give feedback, and know that what, we're going to work through it, but let's be here as a team and focus on our values that we have as an organization.
Yes, I agree. Bert, welcome back. I didn't mean to cut you offline. We just didn't agree with what you were saying, so I had producer Nick kick you out there. Would you like to try again, Bert?
You missed my toxic unflattery that I just gave to my webcam when it decided to log off. But I was going to say, of course, we have it in law firms, but I'll tell you where I experienced the most toxic flattery in my life is in my volunteer service.
Okay.
When I do a lot of volunteer work, and we get into these meetings, and people like to go around the room and talk about all the great stuff that the organization has done and pat each other on the back, and some people just sit in silence, and I don't know, I kind of, sometimes it just bothers me. It rubs me the wrong way when we just sit there and pat each other on the back when there's real conversations that need to be had about what we're doing, the direction of the organization, how the organization's functioning, and we're spending our time rewarding each other.
And when we should be a little bit more critical. Now, I thought you were going to say is where I experienced the most of it is at home. Right? And I'm guilty of it. And it starts with maybe, I'm going out to dinner on a Saturday night with some friends, taking my wife. We're going to have a nice evening. And it starts with, how do I look in this dress? How does my hair look? Right? And at that point, you better have the toxic flattery turned on. So we get conditioned sometimes all the way from home to the office on how to be compliant or learning to be wise with our flattery in those scenarios. That's where I thought you were going with it.
So I'm curious, when you ask Angie how you look in your dress before you go out at night, what does she usually say to you?
She always says, I look great and wonderful, and I should feel very confident about my appearance.
All right.
Yes.
Good.
Absolutely. But no, that's really good stuff. I think the point in the message here is that if you're in a work environment and you feel like there's the meeting after the meeting, and there's more to be said than what maybe is being said, you probably, and you may have a scenario, and it's not unusual, where you just have an environment where people are conditioned for whatever reason not to be completely forthcoming. And I know personally, and I say it all the time, I absolutely am at my best when my team all disagrees, because I'm hearing every opinion differently. And then I can make the best decision as long as they can all then rally behind that decision. But I love it when I'm in a team meeting and there's 4 or 5 different opinions about what is right or the correct decision or how we should handle a scenario. Because then we're going to hear every angle that we can possibly think of, and we're going to make our best decisions going forward. When my team goes quiet and they're like, oh, yeah, no, I think that sounds right. They're either disinterested and can care less, which sometimes is the case, or they're not feeling very safe about speaking up. And that's where, I will try to call on someone who I know will give me an opinion that's going to be different than what I'm speaking to. And once that person breaks the ice, per se, and they don't, they see it's okay, it's amazing then how the snowball effect might take place and people will follow suit with their opinions. The hard part is then creating alignment, and that's the skill to go out and create. Not everyone has that naturally. We'd like to have it. Our teams don't have it. When you have new players on the teams, you have to recreate it because personalities are strong. And it might be a great way to kick off the year with your team when you're wanting to do something different this year, but yet you got the same group of people. How do we behave differently this year so that we can move ourselves forward? And I would suggest checking out some of the difficult conversation programs and communication programs AIM offers in that space. They can be very helpful to help a team take a big leap with just a small step. Yeah. Guys, Happy New Year. I'm happy to be a part of the program again this year. Kris, thank you for joining and having a little bit of flattery with us. Bert is not just an attorney at Ogletree, he's a partner. So we have to give him the respect of a partner there at Ogletree Deacon. So Bert, we're happy to have you back on the program for a good another year with us. Kris, thank you very much for being a part of the program. Until next week, let's go out and be good to someone. Take care.
Thank you once again for tuning in to This Week at Work. If you enjoy the show, please like it, share it, and make sure it's on your calendar every week. Ask your burning questions anytime and let us know what topics you'd like us to cover. Just go to hrask.org and be sure to leave a review wherever you catch our show to help other HR pros find us as well. We'll see you next week when we discuss what's happening this week at work.